Dr. Aaron Martin from the University of Melbourne has done a lot of work to get the Vote Compass up and running, and he joins us now. Aaron Martin, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having
me. And Barry Cassidy is still with us here this morning to talk about this because it's a fascinating initiative. It comes actually from Canada originally.
It does, yeah. So it's been used in 3 Canadian elections and 1 US election. In the last Canadian election, it was used by over 2 million people. So it was the largest survey of public opinion that was ever done in that country, and we're hoping that it's the largest survey of public opinion also done in this country.
Okay, so people go to the ABC News website, they log on to Vote Compass.
Yep.
What awaits them there? What happens next?
Sure, so they answer about 30 questions, and those 30 questions have been carefully devised to represent a broad range of different issues like health and education, immigration, climate change. They fill out those questions, really easy to fill out, and then those responses are actually matched to the party position. So people will see, well, according to the way I respond to these questions, I'm closest to the Labor Party or to the Coalition or to the Greens.
So it doesn't actually tell them how to vote, but it does tell them in the end how they think, and then you line that thinking up with the political party. So some people might be quite surprised with the outcome.
I think they will, and I was just speaking to Red Simons, and he was saying that someone in his program did, and they were surprised by the findings, and that to me is encouraging.
They thought they were one thing, but it turns out, in terms of how the Australian parties are playing the issues, they're another thing.
Exactly, and it's in the party's own interest to actually steer the electorate away from particular issues, and it's also in the party's interest to not fully inform people as to where they stand because they might want to speak about other things, right? So what you can do with this site is you might say, oh, that's surprising. I didn't know that this was the Labor Party's position on X. And then if you're so inclined, you can actually go into the instrument and actually look up policy documents and other speeches that are being made by leaders to see what the basis of those things are.
So if there's a surprise, it might not be so much that you are not what you think you are, but the parties are somewhere completely different.
Exactly, and I think one of the unfortunate things about Australian politics is we don't have the equivalent of a manifesto like a lot of parties do in Europe, where they say, these are our positions, right? And it's quite clear and it's quite easy to navigate.
We used to have party platforms.
Well, yeah, and that's become really difficult. So what this tool, it basically says this is where the parties stand, and this to me is the most exciting thing about it because it provides clear documentation of where the parties stand on particular issues.
But what was the experience in Canada, though? Did people overall find that they were more sort of to the left than they thought they were? For example, say there might be Labor voters in Australia who do this survey, then find out they're actually should be supporting the Greens, or there might be small L Liberals who find themselves in the Labor camp, or the other way around. They're more big C Conservative than they thought. Was there a particular direction?
There were some differences, but that sort of raised an interesting point because we want to underscore that this is not telling people how to vote.
Yes.
Okay, policy issues are only one of a range of reasons why people vote, right? So you might be more closely aligned with the Greens, but for one reason or another not want to vote for the Greens or not want to vote for the Coalition or the Labor Party. So it's really about just saying, if you're concerned about policy, this is where the parties stand, this is where you stand in relation to the parties. But of course there are going to be other reasons why people vote for a particular party.
And over the course of the 5-week campaign, you'll get trends emerging, so we can get updates from how Vote Compass is going. How will that play out?
I think that's actually going to be really interesting, exciting as well, because polls just say, well, who are you going to vote for? Ask some other questions. I don't think that interesting, right? What's more interesting is to say, what do you care about? You know, where do the parties stand in relation to those issues? So exactly. So we're going to be, I think, shown over the course of the campaign a really interesting picture as to what people in Australia actually care about and the issues that they care about.
But Dr. Aaron Martin, if there are shifts, not necessarily significant, but even minor shifts in the positions of the parties on various policies, will you make adjustments on the Vote Compass to take account of that?
We may, but we don't anticipate that happening. We think actually where the parties stand on particular issues now is quite firm.
We've just seen an example of that, though, in the last week or so, with the Coalition embracing Labor's education policy.
Sure.
Now, you made that adjustment?
We have, yeah.
Well, you might have to do something like that again. Who knows?
Well, you may have to do something on. You may have to do something on paid parental leave. Barry, did you pick up something yesterday in the interview that Mark Simpkin had with the leader of the opposition last night on ABC News that maybe there was something else about to be said on that?
Yeah, maybe some adjustment, but
Maybe
I
some
think he's
adjustment.
pretty much stuck with it. I think he'll.
Okay.
I think he'll. But again, it is possible.
Yeah.
It is,
that,
yeah,
that,
sure
that
it
these
is.
sorts of things
As
will
things
happen.
get desperate.
Because this kind of thing does rely very much on the integrity of the work that you put into it.
That's right.
And the
yeah.
assumptions you make, not assumptions you make about policies. You're working very, very strictly, I presume, on declared policies.
Well, so we've got a range of criteria that we basically go through. So we've got evidence to basically support any position where we've placed a party, and that ranges from policy documents, although policy documents are actually a little hard to code sometimes,
And
what
a few
parties
on the
have
ground.
said, and then we've gone to sort of old, party members or senior people in political parties to say, is this consistent with what you believe about the party's position? So we've got a really, I think, strong base of evidence which we've matched the parties to.
Isn't it strange you have to go out and get a strong base of evidence to find out what the party really
No,
think?
exactly.
Why isn't there a manifesto?
Well, exactly, Barry. And I think a manifesto would be great, and it would make our lives and the people working for us a lot easier.
I don't
Actually.
think people like the word manifesto anymore.
That's what Twitter's for, isn't it?
Wow.
Yes, manifestos coming in there every few seconds.
second.
Sure,
Well,
yeah.
look, it's really fascinating, and of course, the ABC has partnered with you in operating this Vote Compass. So we'll see how it plays out, and come back again throughout the campaign,
Certainly.
and let's talk about how it's travelling.
Okay, thanks
Thank
for
you,
having
Aaron
me.
Martin. Thanks so much, Barry Cassidy. Thank you for joining us
Thank
too.
you.